The goal isn't zero scans necessarily. It's just intentional use based on your needs. Ultrasound can be life-saving when truly necessary, but the constant monitoring culture has led many women to feel more like patients than powerful vessels of life. So before every test, ask, will this information change the course of my care? Will it help me feel more connected or more afraid? And am I making this choice from trust or from pressure? Welcome to Biohacking with Brittany, where high-performance health meets non-toxic living. I'm Brittany Ford, a holistic nutritionist, bringing you science-backed strategies in biohacking, longevity, and holistic wellness. Whether you're navigating fertility, pregnancy, postpartum, or simply striving for optimal well-being, you're in the right place. Let's dive in. Welcome back to Biohacking with Brittany. I am thrilled that you are listening today. And I'm so excited to be doing a AMA episode, an Ask Me Anything episode. This is where I really just get into the nitty gritty of some of the questions you send me. All of these are pulled from my Instagram DMs. So if you have any health questions, personal questions, anything like that, I am so happy to spend some time looking at the research, finding some solutions, and talking about it here on the show. I know you guys love this. We really span such a wide variety of topics. And there's no question you could ask that I would not be curious about answering and helping to support. So that's what this space is. It's for you and you alone. And it's just really fun to cultivate a holistic health, optimal health community and see what is on your mind. So I kind of have a backlog of questions because I've been traveling quite a bit. Today's questions are really interesting, actually, very specific. And I'm excited to kind of dive into what is on your mind. Before we do that, a shout out to Peak. Guys, I know you love Peak. Peak has honestly the best matcha I think I've ever had. They have a sun goddess matcha. This is all about radiant skin, antioxidants, and being able to actually feel energized without crashing like you can get with coffee. I actually use their duo. So it's called like the Radiant Skin Duo Protocol. It has over 5,000 5-star reviews, which is crazy. And it's clinically proven to improve skin elasticity and reduce fine lines. So essentially the combo is the matcha with their electrolyte. They call it BT Fountain water hydration supplement that you can add in as well. So I take both. I love both of them. And in the BT Fountain, it has hyaluronic acid and ceramides. And in the Sun Goddess Matcha, it is bioavailable full spectrum ceremonial grade matcha. And we love that. So this is all about feeling good. It's got the L-theanine in it, which promotes balance, focus, calm, energy without jitters or caffeine crash. And it has detoxifying chlorophyll, which supports the cleansing of the body and skin toxins. So ideally, like you kind of put these two together during your day, and then it's really there to help with radiant skin. So if you want to try this, definitely check them out. I love Peak. It will be linked in my show notes and on my website, so you can find them super easily. Okay, let's dive into this episode. Let's dive into the first question. So I'm going to read you this DM from this lovely lady. She said, hi, I was wondering if you have any information or advice on pregnancy and bacterial vaginosis. I'm almost 6 weeks pregnant and recently tested positive for BV. I'm feeling really scared about taking antibiotics during pregnancy, even though I've read that it's considered safe and important. I just wish there was more research available on this topic. This is such a great question, and I could only imagine how frustrating you might feel when you get some sort of diagnosis like this or information like this, and you feel like, there's nowhere for you to turn. It is actually such an important and nuanced topic. Bacterial vaginosis, BV, affects about 1 in 4 women of reproductive age and is especially common during pregnancy due to shifts in the vaginal microbiome. BV isn't just an inconvenience, it has been linked to a 6-fold increase in the risk of preterm birth, according to a large-scale study published in the New England Journal of Medicine. It also increases the likelihood of miscarriage, low birth weight, and postpartum infections. So yeah, treatment is usually advised, but how we treat is where things can get more personal, a little more interesting, and less black and white. So, of course, first and foremost, you can go the conventional route, which is antibiotics. The standard treatment is oral metronidazole or clindamycin. Sorry, my pronunciation of these drugs, both of which are considered a Category B drug by the FDA, meaning animal studies show no harm, but human data is limited. It's really important to remember that. However, here's the issue with antibiotics in this case. Antibiotics can dramatically alter the gut and vaginal microbiome, which is already shifting during pregnancy. 90% of the beneficial lactobacillus species in the vagina can be wiped out with one course of antibiotics, according to a 2021 paper in Frontiers in Cellular and Infection Microbiology. There's also growing evidence that antibiotic use during pregnancy may increase the risk of childhood allergies, asthma, and even obesity. For example, a 2018 Danish cohort study of over 32,000 children showed a 15 to 20% increase risk of asthma in those exposed to antibiotics in utero. So we have to really think this through. If you are going to take antibiotics when you're pregnant, what are the risks for you? What are the risks for your baby long term? It's not just a short-term solution that might help with what you're dealing with right at that time. We have to think about your baby and you and your long-term health. So what would I do if I were you? I would personally avoid antibiotics if possible. This is not medical advice. This is my personal philosophy from what I've seen, what I know of my body and my health. And I would even consider delaying or avoiding antibiotics unless I had recurrent BV or clear risk factors for preterm birth. So why? First of all, the microbiome resilience is foundational to pregnancy, immunity, digestion, and the baby's health. Secondly, antibiotics don't address the root cause. They suppress symptoms. Honestly, I could do a whole show on antibiotics. And thirdly, many cases of BV resolve spontaneously when microbiome diversity is restored. So if I were in your shoes, I would ask the following. Can I retest in 1 to 2 weeks to confirm the diagnosis? Is it symptomatic BV or just an imbalance picked up by a swab? And can we try a microbiome first approach? There are holistic and functional approaches to BV during pregnancy. These are science-supported strategies that naturally rebalance the vaginal microbiome. So first of all, there are targeted vaginal probiotics. Like probiotic, the whole probiotic world is getting insane. So there are actually ones that are for the vaginal microbiome that help it to be healthier. And this, you can write these down or, send me a message and I can send them to you. Lactobacillus crispatus, that's spelled Crispatus, crispatus, sure. And then Lactobacillus jenseni, Jenseni. And these dominate a healthy vaginal microbiome. So if you want to look for this in a product, there's a product called Flurifem. And this is a specific strain of that. And it has been shown in clinical trials to actually reduce BV recurrence by up to 88%. So those are the actual vaginal probiotics. And then you can do oral probiotics. And there's so many that can help with this. The daily use of oral Rhamnosus GR1 and Reuteri RC14 have been shown in double-blind placebo-controlled trials to improve vaginal health in pregnant women. Then you can also do dietary support. This is foundational, and I would really suggest doing this in conjunction to those probiotics. So think like a low-sugar, anti-inflammatory diet, foods rich in polyphenols and prebiotics like garlic, onion, asparagus, and berries. And this really helps to feed the beneficial microbes. You can increase zinc, folate, and omega-3, and this can also support your immunity and reduce inflammation. The hard thing about pregnancy is that there's an increase in inflammation no matter what. Pregnancy in itself is a very inflammatory state for the body. And so if you were to test your CRP levels, which is like the inflammation marker, it is going to be high no matter what. And I know this because this happened. I went through all of this. And so you could still try to manage the inflammation that could be potentially caused from this BV, but just know that because you're pregnant, your inflammation will be high no matter what. You can reduce vaginal disruption. So think about the habits that you have around this. So no harsh soaps, scented products, douching, any of that. To be so transparent here, I don't use anything and I just use water. And I have had no BV. I don't have any infections, UTIs, symptoms, anything, like nothing. I don't use any type of soap. I don't care if it's not scented. I don't care if it's made from leaves, whatever. I don't touch it. The only time I've ever done anything is like if I'm shaving, then I have to be really thoughtful of like what I'm using for that. But I've done laser hair removal, so I really don't have much hair anyway. And then use only pH balanced cleansers if you are going to do something, or just warm water, which is exactly what I do. Lastly, get tested. Honestly, this could even be the first thing you do. Companies like Tiny Health, who just came on my podcast, I finally did the interview with them. I'm so excited to bring them to you. They offer a vaginal microbiome test that uses shotgun metagenomic sequencing. So they actually test the DNA of your microbiome. And this tells you exactly what microbes are thriving or lacking. So if I were you, I would get myself tested with Tiny Health because I would want more information. I would want to know all of the bacteria that's in there, the different lactobacillus, everything we're talking about. I would want to know the levels. And I would want to double check that what this diagnosis said is actually correct. I will link Tiny Health in the show notes for you. I have a discount code, BioHackingBrittany. Use it. And so many of you guys actually love Tiny Health. I'm so excited. They've only been on the market for like 3 years, so very new. Love them. Anyway, get tested. They also do baby tests. And this is actually how I tested my baby's microbiome after the C-section because I wanted to make sure his microbiome was really healthy, which it was. And we're actually retesting next month. So Tiny Health, do a vaginal probiotic, oral probiotic, and watch your diet and watch your external way that you like products that you are exposing your vagina to. That being said, honestly, depending on the timing of all of this, Tiny Health can take a bit in order to get your test back, but I would still do it. They will give you recommendations as well based off of your microbiome on the probiotics and the supplements and the food that they might recommend. But if I were you, knowing that pregnancy is such a short window of time, I would still start taking the probiotics anyway, because I would want to kind of just like get it going regardless. Bottom line, BV can be a warning sign of a microbial imbalance. And while antibiotics are often recommended, especially if symptoms are severe or there's high risk of preterm birth, they aren't your only option. It's about balancing risk versus resilience. I would personally start by supporting my microbiome, getting retested, and working with a provider who respects a functional approach. Seriously, guys. Seriously, please. You can fire your doctor. I want to shout that from the rooftops, and you can find someone new if you want someone better in your corner. An OBGYN, a midwife, an integrative practitioner. You know, your baby's first environment is you. So it's so pivotal during pregnancy to remember that. And also your intuition counts for this as well. And I do want to say that mama's intuition is always right. And so to this woman who wrote in, the fact that you feel uneasy about this, I would listen to that gut feeling and I would do what you think is best. And from the tone and from our conversation, it sounds like you think antibiotics might not be the best route for you. And I would respect that and trust your gut here. Recently, my body has been telling me something was off. My skin has kind of lost its natural glow, and no amount of water has helped to keep me hydrated. And my energy has really just been all over the place. Tired in the mornings, crashy in the afternoon, wired at night. Definitely doesn't help when you have a baby. Then I found Peak's Radiant Skin Duo, and let me tell you, it's been actually such a game changer. This is a doctor recommended duo backed by experts like Dr. Mark Hyman, Dr. Will Cole, and it's designed to deeply hydrate and boost energy and support whole body wellness from the inside out. It low-key has 15,000 5-star reviews, so I absolutely had to try it. And wow, within weeks, I have felt a difference. There is the Sun Goddess Matcha, which is my daily energy savior. Unlike coffee, which can leave me jittery and crashing, this gives me calm, sustained energy that lasts all day. It's packed with L-theanine for focus and EGCG antioxidants that really support firm, clear skin and gut health. Because let's be real, great skin starts in the gut. And then there are the BT Fountain electrolytes. And this is hydration on another level. I used to drink so much water and still feel dry and depleted by midday. And turns out my body just wasn't absorbing it properly. BT Fountain has clinically proven ceramides that actually lock in moisture at a cellular level, keeping my skin and my body hydrated from the inside out. And the glow, insane. I actually see a difference. Peak has such great purity as well. They go above and beyond with quadruple toxin screening, meaning they actually look at heavy metals, pesticides, and mold. And you know, many companies don't do that. There's no artificial junk, no sugar, nothing like that. Just clean, science-backed hydration and energy. I feel more hydrated, more energized, and more like myself than I have in a long time. And there's no more waking up exhausted, no more feeling dull, dry skin, and no more energy crashes. If you want to feel like I feel and you want the glow as well, and you're tired of being depleted, I highly suggest checking out Peak. They have their offer, which is 20% off plus a free rechargeable frother. I love this. I use mine all the time, and a free glass beaker. So you can go to my link to get this, which is peaklife.com/biohacking. And this will get you the 20% off and the free starter kit. Do not sleep on this. Your body and your skin will thank you. Okay, let's get into the second question. I'm going to pull it up. Here it is. Okay, this person wrote in, "Hi, Brittany. What are your thoughts and feelings on routine and genetic/anatomy scans during pregnancy regarding the impact the waves may have on the undeveloped brain? I've been reading about there being a correlation between these scans and things like ADHD onset after birth." You guys are so well researched. It's just incredible. Yes, I have a lot to say about this. Mostly because, again, I kind of went through this myself when I had my baby. So this question really gets to the heart of the concern in the wellness and biohacking world. How much is too much when it comes to prenatal imaging? Let's break it down. So the science behind ultrasound safety, ultrasound uses high frequency sound waves, which are not ionizing radiation like X-rays, to create images of the fetus. It's considered one of the most significant tools in obstetric care. The most common scans include a dating scan, which is 6 to 9 weeks, a nuchal translucency scan, which is 11 to 14 weeks, anatomy scan, 18 to 22 weeks, and growth scans or Doppler if concerns arise. Ultrasound is generally considered safe when used judiciously. The World Health Organization and American Institute of Ultrasound and Medicine both state that there are no confirmed adverse effects when used appropriately. However, again, we need to think long-term about this. There are some emerging concerns. A 2016 JAMA pediatric study examined whether ultrasound exposure is linked to autism. It found that while no overall link was confirmed, longer and more frequent scans during the first trimester may correlate with increased severity of symptoms in already at-risk children. like those with a genetic predisposition. As for ADHD, some smaller scale observational studies have suggested a possible association between frequent ultrasounds and increased risk of neurodevelopment disorders, but these are correlational and not causal. Many confounding factors exist, like maternal health, environmental toxins, EMF exposure, nutrition, and genetics. Concern with this is false positives and the anxiety spiral that can come from this. So this is not talked about enough, and I didn't fully understand this until I went through this. But over-testing during pregnancy can actually create unnecessary anxiety and even lead to false interventions, medical interventions. A 2020 analysis in BMJ Open found that increased scanning led to a 33% rise in false positive diagnosis, particularly with soft markers like echogenic bowel or nuchal thickening. These findings often prompt additional invasive testing like amniocentesis, which can increase the risk of miscarriage. And obviously there is the emotional cost here. False positives can lead to weeks or months of intense stress, disrupted maternal-fetal bonding, and increased cortisol, which we know does cross the placenta and affect fetal development. Chronic prenatal stress is associated with higher rates of preterm labor, low birth weight, and cognitive issues in children. So in attempting to catch something early, we might be unintentionally contributing to the very outcomes we fear. That's a harsh realization. This is the approach that I would take. I would do a very minimal ultrasound approach. I would opt out of most of the scans, and I would honestly probably only do the 20-week anatomy scan. And here's why. I trust my nutrition, lifestyle, and functional lab testing to give me clarity on baby's health. I understood and I understand the emotional and energetic state that can be around each measurement. And also the fact that Europe and Japan average far fewer scans than North America, yet have equal or better outcomes from maternal or infant health really does say something. There are holistic alternatives and supportive practices you can do. So you can do functional lab work. So you can work with a practitioner who offers comprehensive prenatal blood panels, nutrient status, thyroid, inflammation markers. You can do home Dopplers and frequent OB visits, which may expose you to higher frequency sound. So use this sparingly and be very careful with doing something like this. With EMF exposure from prolonged use of handheld ultrasound devices is still under-researched, consider EMF-shielded belly blankets for added precaution. So I would be careful with this. I would be careful with the handheld ultrasound devices. I would be careful with these Dopplers. And I would do EMF shielding, belly blankets, clothing. I have Junnaday's jumpsuit on. I'm actually wearing it right now. And I would use that. My friend Marjorie runs that company, and they also have a belly band. So it's literally what you think. It's like a piece of fabric that covers your entire belly, sides and back, and you can wear it under anything. And it just really protects your baby from all of the harmful EMF around you. I would look at midwives and integrative OB care and what your plan is there. So many midwives use hands-on techniques and measurements. So, feeling for the height and the weight and the heart and all of those types of things to monitor the baby's growth without over-relying on scans. And then I would really try to focus on your nervous system regulation here. Stress from uncertainty can dysregulate both you and your baby. So you can support your vagus nerve with gentle movement, magnesium, fatty acids like fatty 15, and nervous system support like Pulsetto. I actually just got a Pulsetto device, and it's something I've been playing with lately. But breath work as well, meditation, yoga. And remember to really think about informed consent as well here. Ask, why is each scan recommended? Request minimal time protocols, and decline any scan that doesn't offer any medical benefit. The goal isn't 0 scans necessarily, It's just intentional use based on your needs. Ultrasound can be life-saving when truly necessary, but the constant monitoring culture has led many women to feel more like patients than powerful vessels of life. So before every test, ask, will this information change the course of my care? Will it help me feel more connected or more afraid? And am I making this choice from trust or from pressure? Your womb is already wise. Technology can assist, but it doesn't replace your instincts. When I had my first baby, I did a 6-week scan, a 20-week scan, and then at my end of my pregnancy, when we found out he was breech, I think we did 3 scans at that time. That's the thing as well, is like you might think, oh, I'm only going to opt into these 3, one per trimester, let's say, or the 6 to 7 week, the 20 week, and something later on, or something like that. But with your birth, you don't know how your birth is going to go. And so there's a potential, like mine, that you actually might have to do ultrasounds around your birth in order to check that the baby's okay. So know that, like, depending on where you are right now, there's a risk that might happen. So think about that when you're thinking, okay, how much exposure do I want my baby to have to ultrasounds? Because there's a potential that there actually might be more that are more medically necessary around your birth than potentially right now. The other thing I will say, like I kind of talked about, like the false positives. Oh man, I don't even remember. Like I had one of my towards the end, when my baby was breech, the one ultrasound told me that my baby had short legs. And I was like, cool. Like, why are you saying that? First of all, my entire family is tall. That's not possible. I'm not going to have a short baby. Like it's just not genetically possible in my world. And he's already a tall right now. And when he was born, I think he was in the 95th percentile or something for length. So she was completely off. And once we found out he was breech, I had to get a longer scan done, And I think I talked about this on my podcast, this person who did this scan, my baby wasn't moving a lot. And then she called him lazy. And then she told me, oh, we have to go upstairs and do more testing. Didn't tell me what the testing was and just was trying to get him to move. And I actually declined further testing because I knew, I was like, I'm not going to have a lazy baby. I am not lazy. It's not possible. And I don't trust what's happening here. And again, that created so much stress, so much fear. Like, oh, he's not moving right now. Something must be wrong. Okay, go upstairs and do further testing. It's like, no, I don't want to do that. So be careful with this. The more testing you do, the more odds that they can find something that could be off, wrong, something like that isn't necessarily the case. These ultrasounds are not 100% accurate. It's not possible. It's simply not possible for them to be 100% accurate. So know that when you go in there, they could see a small bright spot in the brain or the heart. And this is known as an echogenic intracardiac focus, EIF. And they could see that and be like, oh, this is a soft marker for Down syndrome. But in reality, EIFs are actually found in 3 to 5% of normal pregnancies and usually resolve before birth. So alone, they are not diagnostic and really indicate a problem. So imagine if you go and do this ultrasound, they see this little light, this little bright spot, and they tell you that. And then what are you going to do with that information? Like actually though, like if you see that in whatever week that is, what are you going to do with that information? Are you going to then think about no longer being pregnant and abort your baby? That's your choice. That's up to you, but you have to carry that. And like, that's what you need to think about before you go into these exams. And that's actually the reality of anything that you get tested with pregnancy. If you do the diabetes test, if you do the genetic test, if you do any of it, what are you going to do if the results come back that are not what you think they might be? Are you going to take action in a certain way? So even if that came back, like imagine that. Like imagine there's a bright spot in the heart. And then you're told, oh, your baby might have Down syndrome. And then you're like, okay, that's, we're going to make it work. The rest of your entire pregnancy, think about your state of mind. You're going to be stressed. worried, planning for this, thinking about it. Oh my gosh, like getting all the resources, like all of this extra noise and stress and pressure. And imagine your baby's born and he's totally fine. So it's just this idea of false positives that I really, really caution people with. There's a bunch of different ones. CPC, which is choroid plexus cysts, talks about Edwards syndrome, like fluid, like extra fluid, a short nasal bone, all of these things. Even when we talk about the weight, like ultrasounds, the baby can be too small or too large. But in reality, how on earth are you weighing a baby when it's in a woman? Doesn't make sense. And ultrasound weight estimates can actually be off by 15 to 20%. And many babies are labeled too big or too small and are born with completely normal weights and no complications. And actually, this drives me nuts because so many times, and I've heard this on other women's birth stories, they will do an ultrasound and they will say, oh, your baby's too large. You should get a C-section because there's no way your baby's going to fit through your small pelvis, or your hips are too small or whatever. And they compare the size of the woman to the size of the baby, and then they pressure for the C-section. But in reality, again, weight estimates are off by 15 to 20%. Your body will always, the woman's body will create a baby that it can birth, that it can handle. Of course. Are we that far removed from nature and science that we think the human body would create something that it cannot handle in that way, and that we then need to actually intervene and just surgically remove it based off of the baby potentially being too large? This happened to a friend of mine. And then she had a planned C-section because she's like, yeah, my baby's too big. And it's really sad because it makes me really sad. As someone who had a C-section, it makes me really sad. So think about this type of thing if you are doing these tests. Even placental issues, your placenta's low-lying, or where's the cord, things like that. Many of these abnormal findings resolve later on in pregnancy. And I would just really, really be careful of this because you're increasing your risk of early induction and C-section pressure. And my whole take on the whole medical field in this space is really, really not great. And I'm actually bringing on an expert about this who they have a podcast that's called Birthing Instincts. And he is phenomenal. You think I might be opinionated about pregnancy and birth in the holistic way? This guy, his name is Stuart, Dr. Stuart. He is next level. And he actually specializes in birthing breech, home birthing twins, all of these things that society has said, oh no, we can't do. He actually specializes in. So if you are pregnant and you're listening to this, if you want to listen to a podcast that is going to be actually really helpful for you, it's called Birthing Instincts. I will link it in the show notes. Oof, it's great. And actually, Dr. Stewart, if you send him a message on Instagram, he'll actually reply to you. He replied to me when I was going through my birth issues, confusion, and he was really helpful. Okay, last question, not least, this woman wrote in, hi, Brittany, how do you protect yourself when you fly? What biohacks can you suggest? Thank you. So greatly timed. I'm actually flying out this morning, and I do quite a bit for kind of reducing all of the negative impacts of flying. I flew when I was pregnant, postpartum with a baby. My baby Callahan has been on 10 flights already, and this trip will be 12. But we obviously try to do a lot in terms of helping him to be healthier, regardless of that. Flying might seem harmless, but commercial air travel exposes us to a perfect storm of biodisruptors. So first of all, we have cosmic radiation exposure. At 35,000 feet, cosmic radiation is 100 times stronger than on the ground. And, if you're pregnant, you're especially sensitive to this, just so you know. According to the CDC and FAA, one transatlantic flight can expose you to about 0.03 to 0.05 SV of radiation, roughly equivalent to a dental x-ray. The risks during pregnancy. The risks, honestly, for anybody, but the risk during pregnancy for this person is slightly increased risk of miscarriage, low birth weight, and childhood cancers in some observational studies. So just try to limit it during pregnancy is what I would say for this. But I think there are things you can do as well to really think about this radiation specifically. So if you are pregnant, avoiding flying during the first trimester is what I would say. Choose daytime flights to reduce circadian disruption and fly direct, because the most amount of radiation is actually when you take off and when you land. And then there are things that you can do, and I'm going to get into them, that can help this as well. Something else that happens, it's not just about the radiation, is actually dehydration and electrolyte imbalance. So cabin air has about 20% less humidity. So that's why you always kind of feel, less than 20% humidity. Oh my goodness, that's low. That's why you feel really dry and your hands feel dry. And this is actually drier than the Sahara Desert, which accelerates dehydration and mucosal vulnerability to pathogens. So what can you do? Drink 0.5 mils to 1 liter of water per hour in flight. Add electrolytes. I am on a new electrolyte. It is called Baja Gold. It's salt. It's great. And I don't take Element anymore. You want to know why? Who told me? Someone at the Health Optimization Summit told me this, but there is a lawsuit against Element because they found maltodextrin in their products. So I don't touch Element anymore for that reason. And I always wondered, why is this so sweet? Why does this taste so good? Why is this addictive? And that's why. It's got that maltodextrin in it, and that shit is toxic. So it's not part of my repertoire anymore. So I am taking Baja Gold Sea Salt, and it literally is salt. It's salty, but it's very high in magnesium, very high in all of the minerals, not just sodium. So I add some drops of water. I avoid alcohol. I never drank on flights, even when I was drinking alcohol. I think I'm almost 600 days sober, something like that. And so this doesn't impact me. And then in terms of like being vulnerable to pathogens, you can use a nasal spray with xylitol in it, colloidal silver, or saline. And the one that I would recommend is the one by SilverBiotics. I will link that in the show notes. I actually have it with me, and I'm going to take it with me on my flight right now because it can help. So really think about hydration for your flight. Water, electrolytes, avoiding caffeine and alcohol, adding the nasal spray to just help you avoid being, exposed to anything. And making sure it's not just like one thing of water that you're drinking a lot. Before, after, during, all of that. Then we have blood circulation and inflammation. Sitting for long periods can lead to blood stagnation, swelling, and even increased risk of clotting, especially if you're postpartum or during pregnancy, unfortunately. There is a risk of venous thromboembolism. Man, they make these words long, which increases to 3 to 5 times in flights longer than 4 hours. Estrogen fluctuations and postpartum states can also increase this risk. So you can do things like compression socks to support the venous return. You can get up and walk and stretch every 1 to 2 hours. You can do ankle pumps and calf contractions while seated. You can bring up your legs and sit in almost like a lotus position, like a squat. And then there's supplements like pine bark extract, which has been shown to help with this as well. So what I do, I stretch, I get up, I move. If I go to the bathroom while I'm waiting for the bathroom, I stretch while I'm waiting. I don't wear compression socks, but I think it is a good idea. And I try to sit in different positions. Like I will bring up my ankle, I'll cross it over my leg and stretch it out. I'll do both. I also stretch before I go on flights. I'm that person, if I have a long layover, I'm doing the downward dog in the corner on the carpet. That's me. Especially now that I have a baby and he's crawling around. I sit on the floor. I don't care. I don't care. I don't give a F about what other people think about me. especially when it comes to doing things that are healthy, because society is so unhealthy that why would I do what they're doing? Because obviously it's not working. So that is kind of what I do. And then the EMF and blue light exposure is huge here. Not just the cosmic radiation that I talked about, but Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, cabinet electronics, all of these expose passengers to constant non-native EMFs. While the science is still evolving, animal studies suggest prenatal exposure to EMFs may affect fetal development and sleep patterns. That's obviously if you're pregnant. So I travel with Leela Quantum Tech. They have a block capsule. It's like a little necklace that hangs from you. And then I wear my Junnaday jumpsuit every single flight. Even if I'm pregnant, not pregnant, doesn't matter, because it has EMF protection woven into it. I use airplane mode on all my devices. I download podcast episodes. I download shows if I watch something. Never, ever. I don't sign up for the Wi-Fi. I don't do any of that garbage. I download everything. And then I also use headphones that are wired. I do not use Bluetooth headphones ever, especially now that I have a baby. Oh my word. He's not exposed to any of that. I have a sleep mask for longer flights if needed as well. And then we can talk about the circadian rhythm and jet lag recovery, depending on how long your flight is. So air travel across time zones confuses your body. And this is obviously very important. It confuses the part of your brain that governs your internal clock. And so to regulate melatonin and cortisol, you can use red light therapy before and after your flight. So I love my Kineon Move Plus. It's wonderful. This is my go-to red light therapy device. And I ground myself in bare feet outdoors after landing to reset my circadian rhythm. I remember the one time I did this after I flew to Fiji, and I got out of the airport. I saw grass and I took my shoes off, and I still on the grass out of the airport while we were waiting for a taxi. Just stuff like that can make a big difference. And the flight, oh my gosh, the time zone difference between Canada and Fiji is huge. So that was super important for me at that time. You can fast before the flight. I don't do this, but some people do this and then they eat at the destination's mealtime. That could be a good, tactic if you're okay with fasting and your body can handle it. And then you can add in supplements like magnesium glycinate or GABA to relax before sleeping. Other tools I love for flying, Fatty 15 for mitochondrial health. I take this every single day. Novos Core for cellular resilience and longevity support. I will link both of those. I love Novos Core. It tastes really good. It makes me energized and it makes me drink water. So it helps with my water intake. Pulsetto, this is the vagus nerve stimulator that I've just started using. And you can use this before boarding to enter a parasympathetic state. Literally takes 4 minutes to calm you down. It's incredible. Mouth tape to prevent dry mouth and support nasal breathing. Okay. Those are kind of my final thoughts. Flying doesn't have to wreck your system. I fly a lot and I will always fly a lot. My family travels a lot. We live in Canada and, the world of biohacking is like mostly in the States. It's not even mostly in the States. It's like the States, Europe, and Dubai, to be honest. And so we travel a lot and we also travel to like Costa Rica and these different places. And I'm launching retreats. So travel is something that is part of my life. And so I'm making it healthier and reducing the negative side effects of it because I think the benefits of traveling outweigh the short-term negative side effects. So with smart evidence-based tools and a functional mindset, you can turn your travel days into resilience, building experiences, not setbacks. This is possible, if you're pregnant, postpartum, solo traveling, intentional recovery is key. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this episode. We kind of went all over the place like we always do. I hope this was helpful. I hope I was able to give like lots of tidbits and golden nuggets here and there. If you have any questions, send me a message on Instagram at BioHackingBrittany. Thank you so much for tuning into this episode, and I will catch you soon for another one. Thanks for tuning into Biohacking with Brittany. If you loved this episode, make sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone on their own wellness journey. Stay connected with me on Instagram at BiohackingBrittany for more on high performance health, non-toxic living, and the latest in biohacking. Until next time, keep striving for your healthiest, most vibrant self.